All right, we go over to the men's side here. Norway, this is actually going to be really interesting. Talking about interesting races. In the sprint, it kind of looked like it was the Norwegian show again. I mean, wasn't super dominant in Kontiolahti, and then suddenly they have 6 or 5 in the top 7. They have 4 in the top 5. Only Fabian Cloud can break up the sweep. And you're like, oh, Norway's back. Johannes Tingesbo is back. 1 miss and absolutely dominates. Actually does not crush on the skis. Emilian Jacquelin crushed on the skis. But still, just, okay, Norway's back. And then we fast forward to the relay, and France goes up 2-0. This is pretty awesome. I love that the French boys are showing up for the relay, because I think it's making it super exciting. And I have a confession to make, but I have actually never really been a fan of the relay because I feel like it's not fair. There's like a couple of major teams that are gonna win. There's few teams, we all know who they are, that have the depth. Some teams don't have that depth. But this year, the relay has been super exciting. I mean, the German women winning the women's relay was super exciting over France, which I think we all had as clear favorite. But then on the men's side, now you got France going up 2-0 against Norway, who is definitely the clear favorite. It's just been super, super fun to watch the relays, in my opinion. I don't know. It's just, what do you have to say about like the battle between France and Norway now?
I think it's super exciting. In previous years, we've had the Norwegians dominate, the individual races, sprints, pursuits, mass starts, whatever, and then also dominate the relays as well. But to kind of have a balance now where it's, a little friendly competition between the two of them, like, we see that they're clearly the 2 best teams on the men's side right now. And to have, Johannes is kind of back this weekend. The Norwegians aren't, it's not the typical names that are making up the top 4 Norwegians in the overall. Like Tarjei Bo is down in 11th and Christensen is in 13th. And so they're racing Sorum or Stransheim and in the relays, and they're the athletes that don't quite have as much experience in the relays. And I think we saw that with Sorum on the anchor leg, where he kind of cracked a little bit, and Jacquelin doesn't need much of anyone to crack to be able to have a shot at taking the lead. And hats off to Jacquelin this year for kind of putting it together, it seems like, so far. And being 3rd in the overall is awesome. Not what I would have expected from him at the beginning of the year, but it's a fun little friendly rivalry between the Norwegian and the French that we've seen so far.
Yeah. Jacquelin's shooting really, really well right now. We know that's a little bit risky for him. Not the best of his career, believe it or not, but skiing super well. But yeah, I think it's, I was just looking at the isolated pursuit times, and I mean, all of this rivalry between Norway and France really came to a head in the pursuit, and was really like, there's almost like this metaphoric, incident, so to speak, between Bo and Jacquelin, and it was 100% Jacquelin's fault. He just put the pull in front of his leg, and it's too bad that we couldn't see a sprint to the finish, because I really think Jacquelin had the win, and I think he knows that too, because he's taken to use a baseball reference, Jacquelin's taken Bo deep before, so I think he had his number. And it's just too bad that that was the race incident as it was determined. And but yeah, I think it just sets the stage for the excitement that's coming up. And you had Jacquelin get smoked by Sorum in the mixed relay, I believe it was, or single mixed in Kontiolahti. So there's definitely a storyline brewing here. And look, I was just looking at the isolated pursuit times from Hochfieldsen, and Jacquelin, despite the fall, still had the best isolated pursuit time. and he beat out actually Ligrid, who was second, and then Bo was third, Christensen 4, Tarjei was 5. So yeah, Norway, like definitely. Did Norway drop the ball, or did France clutch it in the relay?
I think with kind of the expectation we have of Norway, I think they've kind of been dropping the ball a little bit in the relays. You know, France in previous years has kind of been hanging on with them for the first or second legs, but then Norway just kind of slowly pulls ahead. France might have a penalty loop or some more spare rounds than Norway, but they've been kind of handing it to Norway in the relays. It seems like they've been skiing faster. They've been hitting more targets. I mean, if you're in Norway, I feel like they're kind of scratching their heads right now and maybe shake up the order of who's going when, what athletes are getting the relays. Like, does Johannes have to go last now instead of third? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's just like it's really cool to see this back and forth. I mean, okay, Sorum did end up having the penalty loop, which is unfortunate, but I think like he was already in second place by the time he had that penalty loop. It's not like he lost the race because he had the penalty loop. I think, yeah, Jacqueline definitely clutched it up and then put the pressure on, and that's why he ended up having. I mean, and what can you do in that situation if you're Sorum? You're head to head. The guy next to you is shooting fast. You gotta go. You know, you can't be taking your time. So yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be fun. Our next relay is probably we got a mixed relay in Oberhof, but then we actually have a men's relay in Ruhpolding, and then another men's relay in Antholz. So yeah, a couple more relays after Christmas, but the Nations Cup is still 100% up for grabs here. So we'll see how that goes. Just pulling up the Nations Cup real quick. And Norway is in the lead for men, but just barely. Like, this is negligible. Just barely. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting as everything progresses.